Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 80, Transgenderism and Personal Responsibility. Um, anyway, this whole transgender movement that's coming out, it's kind of unusual if you ask me. Now, I'm not trying to criticize anybody here that has the proclivity towards not wanting to be in their own bodies. But I will try to make a quick little analysis to help people realize that you can't have whatever you want in this world, that you actually have moral obligation to other people in your life. And that includes utilizing your mind and your body and your heart and your soul and all your capabilities and with certain amounts of responsibility towards other people. And so just a quick point fact is, I work in medicine. If somebody comes to the ER and they cut their hand off, right? And they say, well, why'd you do that? And they said, well, I felt like I didn't want my hand anymore, like I was a one-handed person caught in a two-handed body. They'd be admitted to psych and they'd be locked up after they were medically stabilized. But if somebody says, well, they come to the ER and they cut their genitalia off, then they say, oh, what are you? Well, I'm a transgender person. I want to change myself. I felt like it was a male in a female body or the opposite, whatever it is. Then they'd be like, oh, good for you. Like, we can't do anything about this. Like, your hand, like, that's no big deal. That's a big deal. You go to psych because that's a mental illness. But your genitalia, like, suddenly that's like, hey, you're a responsible person. You're just exercising certain rights and liberties that you have. And there's certain medical professionals that will actually assist you in said design, And so you ask me, probably your body parts should be treated the same. I mean, I could see cutting your eyebrows off or something like that. That's not harmful in any way, but you start chopping ears, nose, arms, hands, feet off, whatever it is, genitalia, you probably should be locked up. But all that being said is, here I am. I'm a Catholic dad. I'm about to have my 9th kid. And could you imagine if I came home one day and announced to my wife that I was no longer a man and I was actually a female caught in a male body? I have personal, huge moral responsibility towards 9 children and my wife. And if I did that, that's a game changer for everybody outside of my life. Now, I don't know what would be going through my mind when I said that, but I do know what would be going through my wife's mind and my children's mind if suddenly their daddy was no longer their daddy and their daddy was a second mommy. First off, my wife would probably grab me by the throat and throw me against the wall and be like, oh, no, you don't. I need you. I need you to help out with these children. We kind of made a promise to one another that we would be until death do you part, for better or worse, and we're going to take care of these children. And I need you put together and I need you whole because you are my spouse. And could I blame her for that? Under no circumstance. That is what my obligation is, if you think about it. And then towards my children, could you imagine my children now? I have almost 9 of them. Well, I do have 9 of them. One of them still in utero. Suddenly having to go to school or having to go into the community and say, my dad is not my dad. He's actually my second mom. And by the way, these people, my children, have to go into this world and they have to negotiate the world. And they have to go to try to find spouses of their own. And how many people would be placed off limit in terms of their pool of potential spouses if their father was transgender? Now, you want to say to the world, oh, that's just the world being judgmental. Yes, that's exactly what it is. The world is judgmental. It's judgmental in so many different ways. It's judgmental if you get a forehead tattoo. It's judgmental if you get a whole bunch of jewelry in your face. It's judgmental in so many different ways, and it's certainly judgmental if you decide to change your gender at a later age when you have children, or any time at that matter, or at any point in time for that matter. So here's the deal. Now my children have to go into this world and they have to negotiate a potential spouse in this world with judgmental people, because everybody is judgmental, even the people that are transgender. They're judgmental as well in certain avenues. They'd probably think I'm hateful and horrible and like, well, yeah, maybe I am, but I don't think I am. But here's the deal. Because I feel like no longer being a man if I were transgender, which I'm not, right? I'm not. I adversely affect the lives of at least 10 people I know of, and potentially many more, because suddenly their whole paradigm of their entire life shifts underneath their feet. And then I have to go back to work, and I run a business, right? Run several businesses, actually. And then I have to go deal with my employees and the people I deal with and my patients. In some ways, I would guess that those judgmental people I have to serve in my life in terms of patient care would be kind of turned off if I were to make the ultimate decision of changing gender. And so therefore I have monster moral obligation towards at least 10 other people on this planet and numerous others, because I work in a situation where I employ people and I have lots of associates where I care for thousands and thousands and thousands of people each year. The paradigm shift would be unbelievable. Now, all that being said is maybe the world is hateful and the world needs to change and the world needs to be more tolerant. Like perhaps that's the paradigm that needs to happen. But all that being said is my body is not necessarily mine and mine alone. It's actually, with my body comes with certain rights, but it comes with ginormous responsibilities. I have the responsibility to work, I have the responsibility to provide, I have the responsibility to be a husband and father, and I have a responsibility to do it in a moral way. And if I make that paradigm shift where I've decided, hey, guess what, game changer guys, and you guys are just gonna have to deal with this, right? It is possible that some of my children may disown me as a father. Some of my children will no longer feel comfortable bringing their friends around the house. Some of my children, I mean, it's possible, and I don't even know. And certainly, that's a game changer for my wife. And if you guys think you can do that and not change the monster dynamic of your married life for a negative way, I think you're probably hallucinating, and this is probably why it's a mental illness, is because when you take certain rights and you claim them as your own and not realize the adverse effects in other people's lives, well then you are only, I mean, it's kind of self-centered, right? And it's hugely self-centered, and that is along the lines of narcissism. And if you do that, that's a mental illness. And so realize when you exercise rights in this world, you exercise rights along with responsibilities, and you can't do anything you want. And I think the world is kind of forging forward at a dramatic rate of claiming rights and throwing away obligations. And I think the perfect example today is transgenderism, but it's also the fact, and this is a very similar case by the way, the fact that women are claiming that you can have a baby and kill it after it's born, that along with rights, I have a right to do whatever I want with my body, and anything that flows from there, I can do whatever I want with that as well, even if it adversely affects the lives of other people. If you murder somebody, that's you exercising a right, which it's not a right, and throwing your responsibility in the garbage. That's what you're doing. Same thing if you decide to change your gender, realizing you are going to severely adversely affect the lives of many people who may call you dad or mom or whatever else. And so along with the exercise of our rights comes our responsibilities. And so what are these people that have an inclination towards changing their gender? What should they do? Well, I don't know what they should do, but certainly I have certain inclinations that are not necessarily aligned towards perfect responsibility, and so does everybody else. This is called sin. And what I do with sin is I think about it a lot, and I pray about it a lot, and I try to amend my life, and I try to change my mind. And if I'm unable to do that, then I quietly suffer with that in my own heart, and I go to confession. That's what I do. And if you're inclined in the way where you think you should change your entire life based upon gender, then you need to quietly meditate over this and not drag everybody in your entire life into your own personal suffering. That's what you're supposed to do with suffering. You're supposed to take it on your shoulders, grab that yoke, and you're supposed to plow a field of goodness. You're not supposed to say, hey, everybody, guess what? I'm suffering, and now I'm going to make everybody suffer too. Because, mind you, you may think it's insensitive to say that you adversely affect somebody's life by changing your gender, but by necessity you do. And therefore, because you can't deal in your own mind with your own sufferings, you hurt other people. Same thing with abortion, by the way. And so this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Please get the Mass, pray the Rosary daily. Get the confession, and remember, when you claim a right, along with that right comes personal responsibility. Thank you, and God bless you.